welcome to Racing Vtuber Rundown, your weekly podcast for all things racing VTuber news and events. I'm Kaito NASA, and I've got a guest in the studio I've been wanting to talk to for a while. If you'd like to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name's Lithium Fox, Simracing full body VR VTuber.
What made you decide to go into like the full body aspect of VTubing? Because like other than Fillion, you're like the only one I know.
That is quite an origin story. So essentially, what happened was I've been streaming for quite a while with iRacing stuff. I actually have a few YouTube videos still up from around basically when there was only like 10 or 15 iRacing VTubers, or not VTubers, well, 10 or 15 iRacing streamers. You had like your folks like Matt Malone's and stuff like that. What ended up happening is around 2019, I had a friend who was like, I want to hang out again, but we're so far away. You should join me in VR chat. And it led down the standard VR chat conversation of, well, I don't have VR. Oh, you don't need VR, all that stuff. So eventually I ended up joining him in that. Got into it, was like really impressed with some of the stuff that I got shown, specifically like the full body VTubers, or not the full body VTubers. I keep saying VTubers for everybody. Full body avatars that would allow for, just this expression of emotion that you wouldn't normally get in the game space. So after a little bit of playing around with VR chat, hanging out with my friends, I eventually was like, I'm going to go get my own VR headset. Got a OG Vive. And then at this point, I was still kind of on this break and hiatus from racing. When I first moved out to Colorado, I didn't have enough money to cover rent. So despite the fact that I'd been racing my entire life, I had to sell my equipment so that I could afford paying my roommate rent. So around that time, I was starting to get the itch back into iRacing, and I just got VR, and I heard that they added really good VR support. So eventually I got a new rig. I eventually got new hardware, put that all together. Did my first sim racing race in my first iRacing race in VR with a webcam looking at me. Mm-hmm. And I was just disgusted with what I saw. I was like, there's no emotion here. You can't see what my eyes are looking at. You can't see like how I'm feeling. You can see my mouth moving and you can see me grimacing, but you have no idea if I'm like grinning. You have no idea if I'm happy or sad. You just see, and it was just the worst looking, and the headset's like squishing in on my cheeks. It made my skin look weird with how the auto exposure would work against like the black headset versus the lighting in the scene.
Oh God, yeah.
And like I could have done something simple like adding googly eyes and stuff, but because of VR chat, I was like, you know what? What if I can use my VR chat avatar while I'm racing? And so I started looking into all these different things, and I came across this article that was like, yeah, you can use virtual motion capture to become a VTuber. And I'm like, the hell's a VTuber? So I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's a thing. I guess they're like a virtual YouTuber. Well, I don't plan on being on YouTube. I plan on being on Twitch. This is important for later in the story, by the way. So I start slowly getting into this stuff. So I get like, I have the hand trackers. I'm like, okay, I can't hold those. So I have to get trackers for my hands. And then I get a hip tracker because that does better. And I just kept adding on because I was also doing a lot of VR chat at the time. So I just was like, okay, I want to improve my body expression in VR chat. And I also want to make it something where I can use my avatar from VR chat in my streams. And then I eventually wanted to get eye tracking, which 2019. I want to point this out later in the story. So I get further along. I start getting the software I need. I find virtual motion capture. I plop that in. That doesn't really work well for because I didn't have a proper avatar. I start using other stuff like Live. I tried using other software. There's another one that was one that was on itch.io that only did the upper body, but it was really impressive in how well the tracking was. So I used that for a bit too. Unfortunately, none of the software really did what I needed, which was tracking external items like wheels and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I even got to the point where I was like trying to sell my idea to these developers. I was like, hey, can one of you just make this stuff work? Can you please just do this for me? And it just didn't happen. So for several years, I was just doing like full body air guitar essentially with everything. But ultimately, the reason I got into full body VTubing was because I was like, I didn't like how my face looked on stream in a VR headset on a camera. That was it. That was the sole reason I got into it. And I didn't even know what it was. I feel like that's going to be just added. We're going to keep getting into this story a little bit further. So I'll stop there. But that's how I got into it.
It's funny that you were like, what the hell is a VTuber?
I didn't know what it was. I was like, I saw like, what's her name? This is the part where, as everyone knows on my streams, but for those that are listening, I struggle with words sometimes. Today is the name day. I struggle with names right now. Kizuna Ai?
Yeah, Kizuna Ai, yeah.
Yeah. I seen Kizuna Ai, and I knew of her. I knew that VTubers were a thing, but for me, I was like, oh, that's just a YouTuber thing. And this was back when Mixer was still alive, and I was active on Mixer.
Oh, God, you just reminded me of Mixer.
Would have been perfect for VTubers. Could have pat heads directly with the mouse and everything. Could have interacted directly with VTubers, and we lost it. We lost the best thing we had.
Yeah, thanks, Microsoft. Funny you mentioned that. I used to stream before this was like 2018, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I actually, like, right when Microsoft had gotten Mixer is when I had first heard it, because I was like, what the hell is Mixer? And so I got onto Mixer before I became a VTuber, and I was just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna stream like me trying to become a professional Super Smash Brothers player or whatever. I didn't know that there were others that were like that started on Mixer. I was just like, oh, okay, Mixer sounds fun. I'll go ahead and try it. And then thanks, Microsoft.
I had been on Twitch prior. My thing was I liked the concept of the ability to have users interact with interfaces and stuff. And I thought that, like, I didn't like the bot commands because I felt they could be too complex in the moment and people could forget them. Or especially with like how we do stuff with iRacing, right? Like the system that I was working on at the time for Mixer all the way up until they shut down was a caps replacement where you could have overlays and stuff that each user could decide what they wanted on screen, because some people want more, some people want less. And then also I wanted to be able to, like, oh, you click on a name and you can pull up their like most recent stats or something, right? So I'd actually gotten data to transfer and work with that, and then they announced that they were closing. I'm like, you jerks. Why? I have spent two months working on this. I don't know how React works, but I managed to make it work, and now I have to what? So.
Oh man. Oh, because I remember having a lot of fun with the interaction stuff that they had, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah, Mixer's going. I'm like, well, great. And I was just about to be because at the time I didn't know that there were other VTubers or I guess V streamers at the time, because I was like, oh yeah, VTuber, and, you know, if you're streaming, it's more of a V streamer then, I guess. But I was gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna be one of the first ones on Mixer, because I didn't know that there were any others on Mixer. I didn't know there were others on Twitch at the time, but I was like, I'm gonna be the first one on Mixer because every other VTuber is on YouTube. And then they were like, oh yeah, by the way, we're shutting down.
It's just the worst.
Thanks, Microsoft. Appreciate it. I still give you like $16 a month for Game Pass, but yeah. Oh man, why is it that like some companies, they'll have great ideas and then the very next second they come out with the worst decision imaginable?
I think for that one, it felt like it was more of, how do I put it? I felt like the director was trying to make more of a name for herself within the company and decided to make some big moves, and regrettably used all their money to do stuff like get Shroud, or was it? That was Ninja.
No, it was Shroud too.
It was Shroud. Oh, Shroud. It was Shroud. Yeah.
Shroud and Ninja.
So they were trying to get these big name streamers in on them, and at that time we just didn't. I don't think the industry realized that exclusivity on streamers didn't really matter. Like they'll go to the product that they prefer to use more, and I don't think that Mixer had the product. It was, I think they had the systems there that if they would have doubled down and really pushed to try and make them better, would have been the best experience for viewers. They just didn't really. How do I put this? They didn't think that it was as cool as they honestly was. Like there was just so much there that they could have done, and I think if it would have lasted about another year or two, I think we would have seen a lot of VTubers move over to Mixer, and I think it would have grown massively just on the VTuber space alone. I think they were just about a year or two short on selling out like that. And because you could have been like, oh yeah, here, let me feed you a cookie, and then actually dragged a physical cookie to your VTuber or something. Like, there's so much stuff that you could do with that and the overlay systems, and I think they just lost focus on that to try and directly compete, I think incorrectly, with Twitch on the things that were successful for Twitch but weren't necessarily what made Mixer unique. So
I think part of it too is when they signed those big streamers, they were like, oh yeah, the viewers are going to stay on Mixer because these streamers are on Mixer now, and you didn't really see that. You saw that fan base stay with that streamer, and then when they went offline, it was like, okay, well, we're going back to Twitch.
Yep, because there's also other streamers that they want to watch on Twitch too. Like, I think you have to have the systems in place, and the content in place. Like, maybe making a deal with one of the major esports at the time or something, like if they managed to get Overwatch League or Counter-Strike or something, right? Like, being able to like integrate more of the, I think really integrating more of the stats and stuff and visualizations that you could create to have it side by side would have been a great sell for Mixer, and they just didn't do that at all. They actually started destroying it a little bit. That's why it took me 2 months to figure out how to do my overlay. They broke so many APIs, it was ridiculous. Like, it was so poorly documented too. Like, they just gave up on it.
Yes, we're gonna make some changes, and we're just not gonna figure out how to document it right. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds about right. Cough cough X cough, formerly known as Twitter cough.
Oh.
Oh man, I noticed that you have and I know a lot of VTubers have started doing it, but you actively put your Bluesky as like a little sticky note thing on your stream overlay. That's amazing. But like, what made you decide to put that like actively on the stream? Because I know some of them are like, it's just a panel, or it's just in the about. But what made you choose to put the Bluesky there?
Honestly, I think it's just because of the fact that like, I'm kind of notoriously bad about keeping all of my socials up to date. Honestly, I'm surprised that enough people know what I'm actively doing when I am so bad at communicating what I'm doing. Like, literally, I think, what was it? I think it was halfway through VTCR today. Like, when we got past the first heat race, I was like, wait a minute. I need to let everyone know I'm live. And then I went and updated my Bluesky mid-race because I was like, crap, I forgot to tell everyone I was active. And so like, but then there's also like Discord. Like, I know that Discords can be very, how do I put it? Discords can be a lot for people because they have so many Discords that they're in, or they get notifications from. People turn off notifications for that. So I figure, hey, if you want to see what I'm working on, you want to see who I am as a streamer or even as a person, go to my Bluesky. I'll be posting usually, like, at least I usually post my work in progress stuff fairly often there. I'm really bad about posting when I'm live there, but I'm really good about going, hey, I'm working on this. Oh, this is gonna be fun. This body pillow mod for ETS and ATS. Go check it out. And I'll post stuff like that. Or I'm working on this new model for my streams, or I'm working on this new project with Frankie or someone else. So I'm really good about posting that stuff on Bluesky. I also just don't go to Twitter much anymore. Like, I occasionally go there just to see like if maybe iRacing or someone's posted something more there. But Bluesky for me is where I tend to post the most amount of my information, and even then I'm still bad at it. So I figure, if anything, it's the best place to at least make sure I'm still streaming, still doing okay, if I've changed like a schedule or something, because it'll be the most likely to be pushed there.
Have you with the Bluesky, like, has it like, now I'm having trouble finding words. Has it like, but okay, I think I've got it. But like the Bluesky, so that's been the more primary thing. Have you noticed with like Bluesky, the engagement's feeling more genuine than on Twitter? Because I've noticed that from my own end. Sometimes I don't get as many. Sometimes I get more interaction and reactions on Bluesky, but for the Bluesky, like the likes on your posts and stuff, it seems more genuine than on Twitter.
I feel it feels more genuine, but I also feel I've gotten a bit more and less. kind of hit or miss, and more depends on the actual content itself being engaging to begin with. So I've actually found a couple different groups through it too that have kind of helped me grow a few of my different background. I'm trying to be a better streamer systems, I guess. But I feel like the engagement there has been more genuine. Plus, on top of the fact that you don't have to worry about, as we've recently gotten proof of from Elon Musk himself, the fact that our posts don't get hidden just because we have a link in them and stuff, which is really important for us as streamers, I think, and as VTubers. Being able to post like, hey, this is where I'm streaming right now, like not just Twitch, but like YouTube, or I posted a video on YouTube, or I'm going live on even like TikTok or something, I'm sure, for some VTubers. So being able to post those links so that people know where to go in the first post without losing engagement just because you posted a link is, in my opinion, super important. The second part, though, is you can also actually find people now. It's not just giving you whatever is good engagement. It's giving you, unless you have that setting on, they just added that setting to Bluesky, but you can actually use SEO tags like hashtag VTuber, hashtag Simracing, which we have for the Simracing VT list. And then you can also just get everything from that list. You can also have that list appear in your primary following or discover pages. So you can choose to have certain lists show up in there. So you can get more content that you're actually interested in versus, oh, here's the latest nonsensical political thing about insert Sony or something, I guess. I don't know. The 300th comment of the minute about Concord again.
Oh God.
Beating that horse to death, you know.
Like we haven't done that enough.
I'm going to be honest. It's gotten to the point where I'd rather go back to, I took an arrow to the knee. Like, remember, I don't know if everyone remembers with that being the most popular thing on the internet, but it was everywhere. And I'd rather just go back to that at this point.
Oh, no, absolutely. Yeah. Just, how many times are we going to beat the dead horse that is Concord already? It's enough. Or as some Hollow Life fans would say, enough. Oh, God. Jeez. But no, I've found myself enjoying the fact that I can post that link and now I'm kind of worried if the post, because with Twitter you can do the reply like right as you post the original, so I wonder if that also makes it.
You mean like thread posts?
Yeah, like when you thread post it, so it's like the link below. I wonder if that like if you do it at exactly the same time, if that'll decrease that engagement.
Without being told directly, I don't think any of us can figure that one out.
Yeah, I'm not sure. What got you into sim racing? Because I know you said you've been doing it for most of your life. So what got you originally into it?
So that one is gonna be a fun one. So my original game that got me into sim racing is going to be NASCAR racing by Papyrus. So about just for full disclosure, I'm 33. I have been sim racing for about 29 years this December, 28 currently, 29 in about when Christmas hits. My very first game was NASCAR Racing by Papyrus. It was one of the first PC games that I owned, as well as one of the first games that I owned alongside of Mario Kart 64 and Microsoft Flight Sim 95. So basically what got me into it was the fact that my parents bought me a racing game and I played the hell out of it. You know, I really enjoyed playing it. I had a lot of fun. It was just kind of interesting to me because I was so used to like more of like the arcade games and the off-brand, not even SNES, just off-brand kind of crappy joystick games at the time, and a little bit of Nintendo 64 games like Mario 64 and Mario Kart, but I didn't have a lot that were as expansive as Microsoft Flight Sim or NASCAR by Papyrus. So to me, it was kind of just really cool to see how complex games could be, to see the different systems that you could have, the different mechanics like pace cars, caution laps, custom paints for drivers, being able to create rosters, that sort of stuff. And then that got expanded later on when I started getting into more impressive console games like Metal Gear Solid 2 and stuff like that, where you could see stuff like developers creating stuff like ice that melts after you shoot an ice bucket, or the little pellets that Vulcan Raven shoots in that hallway against the light sources and stuff. To me, the thing that really, I guess, I found interest in was just this level of detail that an artist could create to recreate real life stuff within a simulator. And I just liked racing. So it was just like, okay, cool. I like NASCAR. I like how crazy detailed these games can be. Hyper focus. You know, I'm going to make this basically my entire personality. Why not? So yeah, it went on and off. Like, there was periods of times where I dropped out of sim racing as I was going through high school. I got back into it, dropped back out of it. I'll admit, through high school, I was definitely doing a lot of other stuff. I really got into like the mill sims like Arma and Project Reality for Battlefield 2.
Oh
Squad,
gosh,
Domino,
yeah.
that sort of stuff. Yeah. So I was really, I've always been into the simulator space, not just the racing sim stuff, but the racing sim stuff, there was just something natural about it, and the fact that I've been in it for so long that makes it something that I can easily stay in. Just both out of comfort, because I just enjoy the concepts of it, and I also think that, I guess the other thing is I don't feel like it's a type of genre that anyone can really be excluded from, because we have people. It doesn't matter about your gender, identities, anything. It doesn't matter. For the most part, you can even find stuff for various disabilities. They've had drivers that have paralysis or paraplegics and stuff. Still, they've built out systems that allow them to still race on iRacing, and I think they showed off that during the 2020, during the pandemic. They had drivers that were dealing with that were able to still race in iRacing because they helped them out with hardware to help them do so. And to me, so sim racing is this thing that really anyone can do, can really reach out to anyone. It's about pushing the limits of it's about the motorsports, which is about has historically been about pushing the limits of vehicles and motors and the teams that they put them together, aerodynamics, that sort of stuff, like research and development in those sectors. And then sim racing is just that, but on PCs, because it's some of the most intense graphics and physics wise for computer hardware to process, because you're dealing with constant collisions on the ground. You're dealing with graphics that have to be done really, really fast. Unlike flight sims, like if you're playing MS Flight Sim, it's like you're looking at a tree off in the distance. Well, it might move like an inch on your screen at most for like if you're traveling at like 400 miles an hour. But in racing, it's like you have trees flying by you all the time. So it's really hard to make a racing sim that both runs good, looks good, and is realistic. And so to me, I've always just been impressed by that. So I always just thought of it as weirdly the forefront of tech, and I felt that it was underrated there too. So I don't know. It was just happenstance that I got into it, really.
How does your PC not die with the sim racing, especially with the iRacing? Because I know like iRacing's very CPU intensive with the physics calculations, and I was trying to do special events, and it just wanted to kill my CPU. So
I'm gonna be honest with everyone. Every day I fear that my computer's gonna catch on fire behind me and I'm going to die. So not gonna lie, because I have a 4080 in there now too. Like it's taken me a while. Like, I did not have the best computer when I first started doing this. I had a pretty middle of the road. Like, when I first started streaming, I had a 1660 Ti. Like, I had a 9900K in there, but I had 1660 Ti and only like 1632 gigs of RAM at the time. So trying to do all this stuff was still crazy for me. And the 3000 series, I moved over to the 3000 series on AMD eventually, and that did not really help me. But no, it's a lot of give or take. Like, I can't run things at like perfectly max settings. And a lot of what I do is detrimental for me, for my own experience. Things like I run my VR resolution at like 86%. So I'm not running at like, 100% super sampling. Everything's super visible. Everything's super nice in VR. No, I get a lot of shimmering. I get a lot of small micro stutters that I get from running all the software I run in the background. But with some clever use of process lasso, lowering the rendering targets on iRacing, lowering the rendering targets on my avatar system, and trying to like lower shadows and stuff that I don't necessarily need for what I'm doing, and lowering stuff like update rates for the iRacing iRacing telemetry capture. That sort of stuff is how I kind of can keep it within a range that's acceptable. But it is a nightmare in terms of like trying to make sure A, it works, B, Windows updates don't just come out of nowhere and cuck me. And on top of that, like NVIDIA updates can break down the road. It's not an easy process. Plus, I don't know, sometimes I'll break something myself and I won't realize, oh, I broke this. Like there was a period of time where I couldn't use my software, found out that it was because the Serenipal, which is the eye tracking, face tracking software I use for VR, they did an update that was incompatible with the app version I used. But if I upgraded the app version I used, it was using 40 to 50% of my CPU and GPU. So I have to because I can't get the old version of the SDK anymore, I have to go back and manually swap out the DLL files to an older version just so that I can keep using the software with what I have, because otherwise right now it's using like about like between 8 to 15% at most of CPU and GPU. But if I switch over to the new version, it's using around between 35 to upwards of 55% of both CPU and GPU. And then it's creating 2 gigabyte log files every hour and a half.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So like it has been trial and error through all of this. Like people have asked me like, oh, how do you stream? And I'm like, okay, do you want the version that you're going to go with because you won't listen to me? Or do you want the version where it's exactly what I do because it's the way I found that is the best? Do you want the long version or the short version?
Yeah. Do you want the version that's easier to understand or the more in-depth to make it actually work answer?
oh, no, even then it's like the in-depth version is the one where it's like, okay, I don't do this because of this. The longer version is actually just there to be a forewarning of why I don't do something. The easy version is I do this, this, and this. Do that. Because no one believes me when I'm like, well, I do this. Well, it's like, well, that doesn't make sense. I'm like, yeah, I know. It doesn't. But it works. so like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I thought the same thing as you. But then, like, 3 years ago, I realized, well, what if I tried this? And then I went, oh, that actually works better. That's dumb. Why does that do that?
That's dumb. Why does this work better? But okay.
Why does this work better? I hate that this works better. It's like when I was first doing this, like I had a 20, I think it was again the 1660 Ti, and then I moved up to a 2080 Super. And the 2080, or was it a 2070? I think it was it was a 2070 Super. So at the time, I had a stronger CPU than a GPU. So I did CPU encoding just because that worked better on my system, because NVENC was it was doing stuff on the power side of the GPU where it actually is something that they do say now on the NVENC pages, that if the GPU hits about 95% usage, NVENC will suffer. So they do say that if you go to the NVENC settings page now, which I appreciate, because it took me forever to get people to believe me that was a thing. Right. Because they're like, well, why is my Apex Legends running so bad in NVENC? And I'm like, because the GPU is being used. No, but it's supposed to be free. And I'm like, it's not. It's not. Still using power and bandwidth across the PCI slot. It's not free. It's just theoretically free. It's like FXAA for like, screen space anti-aliasing. It was theoretically free back in the day. And then we found out that as you get up to like 4K resolutions, it is not free. It is really heavy at 4K resolutions compared to even stuff like MSAA. So like, it's one of those weird things where you just, it is what it is. it is what it is, and I do what I do because ultimately I found down the road it's the best way for my system to not cry at me at night.
I imagine now, now that I've got that little backstory, like every time you're streaming iRacing, just the CPU sounds like a jet engine now.
I absolutely. Oh, that's been a fun issue I've been able to sort out either. I actually can't get my fans to run at max RPM for some reason.
What?
I don't know why. Yeah, there's something with like the wire, like the with the electrical side of it where it won't push. I have all the same fans across all of I made sure to replace all the fans, and I don't know if it's something with the Corsair hardware or something, but I have run into this issue where my fans will run at like 50% speed unless I tell them to be 100%. Like I could say like run an extreme, but then it's like, oh yeah, this fan's running at like 1700 RPMs. This one's running at 2000 RPMs. This one's running at 700. It's the same fan. Yeah, same settings. So unless I go in and manually force them up, which then reduces everything else down. So like I think the max I can run my fans total across all of them is like between 12 and 1700 RPMs. Like they will not run higher than that. And it's something to do. I think it's something to do with the power delivery on the one of the systems, and it's awful. But yeah, no, when I'm using my computer, it is absolutely just like just fan. I can because of where I've moved my desk now, I actually had to get a physical fan to put in front of my rig to push the hot air back away from me, because as I'm sitting there driving, the heat from my computer will actually get unbearable, even if I have my AC set to like 69 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh,
it's just...
That's just the heat from being inside of the car. That's, added immersion.
It is, but like, I already get the heat from the headset. I don't need more. Like, that's already generating like probably at least a couple 100 degrees off of that, just because of the screens and everything else,
yeah, that's fair. How do you manage to like stay in VR for so long too? Because like for me, at least for a while, and it might just be because I wear glasses, I find if I start to take notice of it, it really like I'm like, okay, I got to take this off because I'm getting hot.
Proper configuration and settings for your headset, like properly adjusting the straps and making sure that it's not squeezing your head and it's balanced across your head, is the first thing to me. Making sure to clean your devices so that like they feel good on your skin, so they don't feel gross and whatnot, because no one likes that. And then finally, again, the fan in front of my computer, like that just helps so much. Like, I'm not joking. Just if you're in VR, if you can, and it doesn't affect your mic too much and you're streaming, just a fan helps circulate the air. It makes it feel a lot better. Having central air is also kind of nice. I know that a lot of my European friends really struggle with VR because it gets really hot in the summer.
Right.
It is absolutely one of those things where if it is too warm, and I've complained about this on streams, I think I even complained about it earlier. I was like, oh, I need to go make sure the heat's off. If it gets above like 72 Fahrenheit for me in ambient air, I get very uncomfortable in VR, and I can actually start to get a little dizzy. But if I just keep myself cool, make sure that I stay hydrated, make sure that my settings are set up in a way where I'm not getting too bad of a stutter. Like the big thing is frame timing in VR. Just you can be getting like 58 frames in an IMSA race in the rain, but if it's smooth and it's not jittery, it's usually really bearable. Like it's still going to be a little bit disorienting if you're really sensitive to motion. But if you're kind of used to it, especially because VR chat runs horribly, everyone that plays VR chat knows this in VR.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You can get down to like 20, 30 frames per second in that, right? But it's bearable if it's smooth and like not moving you all over the place. So I think that's where I'm able to do it. And it's just getting used to it, obviously. Like I think that's the biggest thing. Is I did a lot of VR chat before I got into iRacing. I did a lot of the tough stuff in VR chat, like climbing worlds that move you around against your will. And also, I think the other final thing is I hold the wheel how it's held in game. It's a small little thing. I'm sure people have pointed it out, but I am one of those types where if I'm driving the 87 NASCARs, I'll be holding it at essentially 10 and 2 versus 9 and 3 standard that we have now. And it's to try and keep my hands in the same position as what's in game. because limb movement can. A lot of people don't realize this; they think of it just the inner ear, but limb movement, like your elbow not being in the place you expect it to be when you're moving your arms and stuff, those subtle little those little differences in hand movements and arm movements can add to motion sickness, which is like I think why like games like Half-Life Alyx and stuff just go with the hands, because it's just, unless you have full body tracking, well, there's no real way to track an elbow correctly, because you could have your hand in front of you in different positions,
right,
and be making the same movements. So,
because I know for me, when I had an old it was still called Oculus. It was
Yeah.
It was like right when Facebook
the
started.
Rift or the Quest?
It was the Rift. It was the Rift.
Okay.
I've been looking at maybe getting the Quest 3, but I don't know yet.
The Quest is like a great headset for its price point. My issue with it has been compatibility with tracking software and tracking systems, and then also overlays.
Right.
The problem is when you're trying to do like overlays in racing sims or even like ETS or something, Oculus doesn't really have like a good overlay system. And most of the overlays require that you go through like either Steam VR as OpenVR or OpenXR modes.
Yeah.
And those add additional overhead because you're basically running the Oculus compositor and then the Steam compositor on top of each other. So it's rendering twice every frame. So you are basically doing twice the work to just run on an Oculus Quest.
Right.
Versus just having a Steam VR Direct headset, which was the big reason why I went towards that, and why I usually recommend like either get something like the Vive or wait and see if we can get something more like with better eye tracking and stuff. I think the Pimax sounded like it'd be a pretty cool one. I didn't really get a chance to look into that because I don't have the money to buy one, but
I know a lot of people have been recommending the Index too, but I don't know if that's got eye tracking or not.
It doesn't, but there is a team that's been working on like an open source eye tracking add-on that you can either build or buy. So they've been working on stuff to improve that. There is also going to be we've been getting more and more rumors of a new Valve headset. The Deckard, as everyone's called it. It's been like a pipe dream for several years, but lately we just got some new data on their controllers that they're going to be providing for it. So it looks like it's going to be like a standalone headset like the Quest, but it's going to use more of like the Steam Link stuff, and they're going to be pushing it more for both VR use, but also for like being able to play flat screen games in VR, like with a big, like basically to make like a big TV in front of you or something for space constraints and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah.
So the controllers, like they even added a D-pad, which is the first D-pad I've seen on a VR controller. So I'm a little disappointed they got rid of the finger tracking though, but maybe they'll have something. Maybe they'll have something where it's like camera based or something. That would be kind of nice. That
would be nice, because I like one thing that I looked at with the Index was that finger tracking. I was like, oh, that looks really cool. I kind of want to try that, but yeah.
See, I have finger tracking for my software. I just don't have gloves that make use of it. So that's why you see me walking around like I'm constantly holding stuff in my hands, because otherwise it's just like you could do camera tracking. I could wear like the controllers while I'm racing, but it's just you deal with occlusion and you deal with the inability for the cameras to track your hands when it's like when you're moving the wheel like down or around and stuff. And it's often too fast for the camera to keep track of it. So I just gave up until I could get some tracking gloves.
Right.
Maybe through a sponsorship or something would be nice, actually. Oh god, my foot's going crazy.
If you're a company that makes those, and you're watching this, hit Lith up. Seriously. Lith is really good about sponsorships. Definitely. Hashtag not sponsored.
Hashtag still not sponsored.
I know, right?
But no, there's a few that I've been looking at, and it's like the final add-on for my entire system. Because like I mentioned earlier that I got into VR because of the lack of eye tracking, or like being able to see my eyes and stuff. And so one of the big reasons I got into the VTuber space is I wanted to be able to show what my eyes were doing in VR. And I felt that having an avatar of some sort that could show that off was the best way to do it. And then I proceeded to not add it to any of my systems because I didn't have the hardware for it for 4 years. That was the last thing I actually got as an add-on to how I do. It was the first thing I wanted, and it was the last thing I added. So it was just funny to me how that worked, because I just had it automatically do stuff, which worked fine enough. I think like having the blinking there at least made it seem more natural.
Right.
And I also had I didn't have face tracking either, so I just had it work off of how I sounded. And I think it adds a little bit of emotion, because racing's emotional, and drivers don't always talk about what they're thinking about. They're showing it. They're grimacing. They might, you might get a Max Verstappen screaming about how someone's an idiot and they can't see them can't see him in a corner, right? But then you also have that driver who's just they're like, "Hey, talk to us." No. Why not? Because I'm going to say some stuff I'm going to regret.
I'm so bad about that, and I'm kind of waiting for the 2.0, because I'm also waiting for a new PC, because I'm kind of stuck doing PNG stuff while I'm racing. But the 2.0 is going to be so much more expressive for me, and that's why I'm like, oh yes, finally, I can be more expressive with my face, because I'm so bad about speaking about what I'm doing or thinking.
And you can do it, but then also the dangers of it is that if you speak too much, then you just sound like you're crazy when you start doing it in real life.
Yes.
Because you don't stop, you don't turn it off. So
streamer mode just stays on constantly. It's like, wait, no, I'm sounding like a crazy person now. I need to stop doing that.
Yeah, it took me a while. I actually, it was kind of funny. I actually used to over exaggerate my facial expressions in real life because I didn't have them tuned correctly on my avatars when I was first adding face tracking. So I was making these really weird faces to try and accentuate it so that the tracker would read it. And now that I've gotten a good balance, it's okay, it doesn't affect me in real life anymore. I look like a normal person, not like I'm about to go on a spree or something.
Oh no, for me it was sometimes I was doing the exaggerated expressions, because I'm bad about facial expressions. I can look at one and I'd be like, I have no idea what expression that is. Kind of why I got into anime is because everything is exaggerated. It's just easier for me to recognize that this is what this character is feeling. This is the emotion that's being conveyed. And then in the real world, it's I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't help that also you have you're going to end up having familial and cultural differences. So one family might be oh, this face is just me being a goof face. And it's just, they look like they're angry and about to punch you. And you're that does not you're being silly. That looks like you're mad.
Yeah.
And then there's also people that deal with resting bitch face, right? RBF, right? And so I kind of struggle with that one, because if I'm just thinking about stuff, I'm very much the type where I just look like I'm staring at you with murderous intent, and I'm not.
Right.
But I've also had people accuse me of, oh gosh, I used to work retail, and one person, because I was just staring off into space, not even looking at them, I was just thinking about what I was going to do that evening, and then they started calling me a racist because they accused me of thinking they were gonna steal something. I'm like, sir, I don't even remember the last 10 minutes. I have been zoned out this entire
Honestly,
now that you've said that, now I think you are, because you said that. What the heck? I was just over here minding my own business, man. So I've had moments like that, and it's just, you run into this, I don't know. But it is, I think in anime, you're right. The facial expressions, because you can get them kind of exaggerated, I think it helps convey emotion a lot better. We're still kind of, I think, in that phase of especially for 3D, but I even think in live 2D, we're still in this phase where getting enough detail, but also making it fast enough to track is still kind of an issue.
Yeah.
And so, because you still run into issues where someone's on live 2D, they're actually upset. You know that they're trying to frown, but their avatar is just for some reason smiling.
Right.
And you're like, what?
What?
That doesn't look right. But they know they're saying, I'm not happy, guys, but they're like,
yeah, right.
And so we're still running into that issue. But I think I don't know. I think that's helped a lot. And I think also it's kind of helped. I think it's helped with a lot of folks trying to make those connections too, because like that, as you mentioned, that like a lot of people struggle with that. You know, like being able to connect with others through emotion and stuff, especially because of facial expressions. Like I don't know. It's for me. I think it's always kind of cool to see how we've kind of pushed this tech in a way that, like, well, I mean, everyone's heard about Iron Mouse and stuff. Like,
oh yeah,
just so like you have people that maybe can't read emotional expressions, but then you also have people that just maybe can't go outside. So like now people can connect with others in this way where it's like we all kind of know how to read the facial expressions that people are providing, but then also you have people that can just reach out to people emotionally that weren't even able to go out to meet people in the first place. So it's just this VTubing space to me has always felt like it's crazy how inclusive it's been able to become because of the systems that are needed for it to function to begin with. And now, boom, you have Iron Mouse being able to like, you know, stream and be one of the biggest streamers out there and share his story. And then you have, you know, like that again, that was the entire reason I even got into VTubing in the first place. I'll show my expressions in VR because I wanted to keep doing VR streams. That was the original point. But like, I wanted to be able to go, oh, I'm showing fear in this situation. I'm showing danger. I'm like, oh gosh, do you guys see that wreck that's about to happen over there? And I'm looking at it, right? You can see where I'm looking. You can see when I'm about to like read something's about to happen.
Right.
Now you can see when I'm grimacing. You can see when like the worst part about my current tracking system is that outside of VR, I get eyebrow tracking. In VR, I don't get eyebrow tracking. That's the only thing I think you guys miss out on, is because there is a lot of raised eyebrow moments that you guys miss out on VR. And I think those things are important. And I think that's important in the VR, in VTuber spaces, being able to, oh yeah, this is what my VTuber's feeling. And I relate to that. Right. Because I am also pissed that they were taken out in T1 at Monza.
How did I hit the feeling?
You see what I mean?
How did I know that was going to happen?
Because of course it was.
Of course. It's turn one at Monza.
It's the most relatable thing all of us in sim racing have experienced. And even some of us that do F1 like Max Verstappen. If you guys don't think I didn't watch a Max Verstappen video about him getting increasingly more pissed about what situations he was in last night, and that's why I'm remembering all this, you'd be mistaken.
Give me 1 second, I'll be right back.
Of course.
Sorry about that. If I sound out of breath, I had to make a trip to the shed for a second.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, my dad is. We have a neighbor that does construction, and our light fixture in the garage is broken, and it's getting dark because winter.
Yeah. Makes it hard to see in the shed when you need it, right?
Well, they're fixing it in the garage, but I had to go into the shed to get the. We have some like halogen lamps.
Ah, okay.
So that way they can see in the garage whenever they're going to replace the lights. But yeah, so that was fun.
My dad was a construction inspector, so he still did a lot of his own construction around the house. So I know all about the shed visits and stuff. So,
oh yeah, there's some space in there, but it's not big enough to do like sim racing in.
Yeah, you can't be another Jimmy Broadbent. Can't raise out in the shed.
I can't be the U.S. Jimmy Broadbent. There's not enough room in the shed. Oh man, actually, it's funny that you mentioned like other like content creators that did iRacing that kind of like got you back into it. Was Empty Box one of them?
You know what? Honestly, Empty Box was kind of one of those ones that helped me. He didn't necessarily get me back into it, but he did help me kind of keep up with it, because he would have like, oh, here's updates, here's some news, here's some races that I did, and I'd be able to like keep up. And I did enjoy his content at the time when he was still making it and such. And it was like him and honestly, I don't think I didn't even follow like Jimmy or anything. So like Empty Box was probably one of the only sim racing content creators that I followed and felt like he made some really actively good content like the the FOV stuff, and the term that I personally love to use myself and share with everybody, even outside of sim racing, what we call AI, actual idiots.
Yeah.
So that is the best phrase that has ever come out of sim racing, in my opinion. Like, just because it encapsulates, because like the AI in like sim racing games, like especially like iRacing and NASCAR Racing 2003 season, and even some of the newer other games like R Factor 2 and stuff, can be really, really good to race against. But they are still just idiots at the end of the day.
True. True.
They're just doing what someone else told them to do, and it's all dependent on how well they were told to do that thing. So it's like, it's not like they don't really have the logic and reasoning that real people. I'm thinking of Monza Turn 1 again now. Okay, I'm sorry. Like it just happens.
I mean, when you start talking about it, when you start talking about like
people, and then
real
you think
people,
of Monza again.
Would you say that's your most feared turn? Is Monza Turn 1?
Honestly, oh no. Oh gosh. I think the one that I've actually had the most issues with. Oh, gosh. Honestly, it's a lot of corners that are like that, but I think the one that I've seen the most issues with, and the one I fear the most, I could name a few. Like I could name turn 1 at like Laguna Seca. I could name turn 1 at Nürburgring. So like the Nürburgring 24, where everyone just tries to dive into that hairpin, right?
Of course.
I think is it the cutting? Is that the name of it? Bathurst, that uphill section.
Oh yeah.
That second left-hander right up there, where you're just like, where everyone everyone's gonna get stuck up there and not realize it and just slam into each other, or I'm just gonna lose it for no reason, because that's what's happened so many times. Like it's either everybody else messes up or I'm gonna mess up on my own anyways. And it is just one of those corners to me that I've always found to be probably one of the most dangerous ones I've ever seen in sim racing, just because it's such an easy corner when you break it down, but it's so easy to mess it up too. Like
right.
Everything else, like you're kind of prepared for it. You're prepared for everyone to jam up at like any sort of turn 1 hairpin, like Imola, Nords, Laguna Seca, first corner of Indianapolis GP, because it's that hard right-hander, right? A lot of those corners, everyone's like, oh yeah, it's gonna happen. Turn 1 Monza, that's the big meme. But the cutting is one of those ones where if you're just caught slightly like not paying attention, you're caught sleeping there, can jam everyone up, and it can ruin a race for basically the entire field. And I've always thought of that one as like that one, because I've been through enough of those too, where it's like, oh, I'm just cool. I've been here for like a minute. They're going to be coming around right now. You guys still haven't cleaned up. Like, what are you guys doing?
Right.
Just stop trying to do an Austin Powers 80-point turn right now. Like, please, just tow.
I've had my fair share of doing the Austin Powers. Oh
like,
God.
It's fine. I get it, and I also am like one of those people where I will defend folks who don't want to tow in iRacing, because that's like an entire several minutes when maybe it might take you just a few seconds. But then you get that one person that's impatient, and while you're trying to back up so you can turn around, they just slam right into you and ruin your turning anyways. And you're like, oh, if you would have waited, I would have been able to do this faster without you taking damage. Like, okay. So there's moments like that. I'd say that's probably the one that I dislike the most, but Monza is definitely one of those ones where you're just like, it's I guess feared in the sense of like I expect everyone to wreck, but it's also like I don't fear it because to me it's more of an inevitability. Whereas like if I'm going up Bathurst, it's like, is it gonna happen?
It's genuine fear of this could happen. It's might
genuine
not,
fear
but...
of like it's the fact that it's so hit or miss that makes me go, I have no idea. I don't know I don't expect it at Bathurst, but I know it can happen. Whereas at Monza, I just expect it, and I'm pleasantly surprised when it doesn't.
Yeah.
Like it's like the difference of like expectation versus like it because like it's like a jump scare in a way. It's like if you know the jump scare is coming, you're not really going to be afraid of the jump scare. But then Bathurst is like, oh, that's a jump scare. It's like I knew it was going to possibly happen, but I didn't know.
Right. A good video I saw that was like expectation versus reality actually wasn't talking about racing or anything. It was talking about Pokemon and Cynthia.
Oh.
It was talking, and it was basically talking about like how Game Freak and the company that they partnered with to do the remake for Diamond and Pearl, how to keep the expectation of Cynthia being a very tough fight with the reality of the fight. Oh my god.
So did they change it up in the new one? Is that what happened? Like
they changed one Pokemon on the team, but what they did was so because like in the originals, like you had no idea what Cynthia was throwing out because we'd never fought Cynthia. And by the way, Spiritomb, how do you get one of those?
Yeah.
So she still has the signature throwing Spiritomb out first, and of course Garchomp being her ace. But in the remake, it's competitive movesets and like near perfect IVs and EVs.
So they just perfected what she already had to make it even like to still make that like, oh, she is a tough fight.
Yeah.
But like it's like you expect it. Like you're like, oh yeah, she's gonna throw out these Pokemon that are tough to deal with. But not only are they the Pokemon that are tough to deal with, it's now you have to deal with especially tough competitive level Pokemon.
Right, because
they don't normally do that.
Yeah. Whereas in the original, there was no expectation because it was like, okay, well, I know it's going to be a tough fight because other Pokemon games, the champion fight has always been the toughest fight. Mm-hmm. But we never, like, in the originals, it was like, oh, you have no idea, like, what she was throwing out. And then the remakes is like, okay, well, I know what Cynthia's team is comprised of. And then here's the reality of you're still getting smacked in the face.
Oh, I need to go back, and I actually still need to finish 2. I didn't finish the Legends game, and I need to finish the latest one, Scarlet and Violet. Like I get people's complaints about it, but I still kind of enjoy it. I like the quality of life in it.
Right?
And
no,
you just reminded me. I need to go back and play those.
I actually found my my old Game Boy Advanced SP and my copy of Leaf Green, so I've been playing that recently.
Nice. Yeah, I've been playing Pokemon since basically Red and Blue came out. I actually remember I was in high school and I hadn't played Pokemon in I think like 6 years. And I was sitting there like my dad was like, "What do you want for Christmas?" And I'm like, "Oh, Pokemon like I think it was like Diamond at the time that was out." I was like, "Pokemon Diamond or something." And he got me and I ended up playing that a lot and I got back into Pokemon after that. So It was kind of funny. I just did it like as like I don't know what else to do. I was working in retail in the electronics section. I'm like, he's like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "I don't know, buy me that." He's like, "Okay." And I got it, and then I played it, and I beat it, and I'm like, "That was actually pretty good. Maybe I'll get back into this." And then I dropped it again after Y. I think Pokemon Y. I got lost.
Oh yeah,
I think. I didn't play for like a month, and then I was like, where do I go?
Oh god, France? Yeah. Especially with Kalos, with like how Lumia City. I think it was called Lumia City, where it's just a big circle. One, right? Yeah, the big circle with the Eiffel Tower looking building.
Yeah, and I had to go back somewhere to like trigger some event to like move the story on. I went like everywhere I thought I could, and I was like, I don't know what to do, so I'm just gonna. And then I didn't play it again. Yeah. And then I think the last one I beat was Sword and Shield. I actually beat both of those. So I enjoyed it. It was definitely, if you were playing online, it had a lot it was very laggy but like it was straightforward and linear enough that I could get back into it easily as like someone who hadn't played in a few years. Mm-hmm. So that's, I did kind of enjoy it. I know a lot of people didn't like the linearity of it, but it helped me play through it and actually beat it when I was doing a bunch of other stuff. So. Versus, the Circle City of Lost Death. where there's some guy who's like, you can't go through here.
Yeah. It's like, well, where do I go?
Yeah, can I get a hint? Can I have a quest log? Something, anything, please.
Yeah, no.
Something to remind me of what I did last.
I think a lot of other the hardcore Pokemon fan base also tends to forget that. Like, there's... Yeah, you've got the younger generation of Pokemon players that are going in for this might be their first Pokemon game. And then you've also got the ones like those of us that are busy with, jobs or or other things that we're doing, other hobbies. And we come back to it after like a couple months to a year, and it's like, what am I doing?
How does any of this work? What?
Yeah,
Why can't I still go down this alleyway?
Yeah. Hi, I'm guilty of that with Monster Hunter Rise. I'm about to delete my save file because I have no idea what I'm doing.
I did that 3 times with The Witcher 3.
I've done it.
I got halfway through the game, and then I didn't play it for a year, and then I didn't know what I was doing.
Oh God,
I didn't remember half the story.
I'm so bad.
I eventually did beat it. But like I had to like just only play that for like a month.
I'm also bad about if there's like a major update that does something or adds something new, I'll delete my save and then start from scratch. Like a good example was Kerbal Space Program 1, when they would introduce like new parts, or like the Breaking Ground DLC where it was like, oh yeah, by the way, new parts for surface science, and I was like, well, now I got to delete my save so I can try out all the stuff again.
There's that, yeah, and then like if they do like major UI or loot table changes, like Cyberpunk 2077 kind of had that, where like they completely changed like how the skill systems work. And then I also ran into the issue with No Man's Sky. There actually is, if you don't restart the game, there's actually I think 1 or 2 items you cannot get unless you restart the game. So you have to.
Oh wow.
Yeah, there's like some items that you cannot genuinely get unless you restart the game. So like people who had been playing their save files for the entire time that had been out had to restart their games if they wanted to get the items, because it's part of the tutorial, but they didn't have a way to give you the items later in the game.
Oh, that's crazy. I didn't think that would happen.
That can happen with some of these games. Like you can run into an issue where like it's like, oh yeah, you get this item from this tutorial quest. Okay, can you get it any other way? No. What? Why?
Oh, you know what that reminds me of? Destiny 2. When Destiny 2 started the whole New Light thing, and it was like there were some things you could only get from the New Light missions, and you couldn't do it if you had already done like your character through the Red War. But then also like when they sunset the Red War campaign, which thanks for that, Bungie. Because some of us still wanted to play that back again.
Yeah,
I get why, because, you know, everything was on their servers and they needed to free up space, and especially if you have like millions of players.
It's the thing about live service games is they tend to follow more of the MMO style update paths a little bit more. So you end up running into this issue. Like Final Fantasy 14 even has this now. There's like actually a lot of quests now that were kind of unnecessary and people thought were really boring, but now that I like they're gone, it's like, oh, you didn't know this? And it's like, yeah, no, they never talked about that. It's like because the quest was removed, so now they don't have the context for certain things because essentially the story was removed from the game to try and like streamline things and simplify things,
right?
But like there's entire pieces of information that are just lost to time that you can't replay because it's gone. And I think that's kind of a big reason I'm not a big fan of the live service model anymore. It's actually something I wish that iRacing would even improve a little bit, like being able to go back to like old versions of physics for cars, just to even just experience them, to go, hey, this is where things have improved. Because a lot of people complain about those sorts of things, right? You know, they don't get to experience like the old Destiny stories. They don't get to experience like what has the development actually been like.
Right.
You know, so you have no idea if, you know, like, oh, here's this missing content, this missing story that informs all of this new story we have now. And then, for sim racers and stuff, it's like, oh, well, has any of the other V2 folks, has anyone experienced new tire model V1 through 4? Because I remember very distinctly, like, oh, I'm driving at Daytona during a pace lap, and the rear end of the car is just trying to slide down the track while you're just trying to pace. You
know what? Now that you've said that, I remember that.
Yeah. A lot of people forget that, and they're like, oh, the tires in iRacing are complete trash now. And I'm like,
have you seen what they were?
You have no idea where we've been. Like the reason ice racing existed wasn't because you couldn't take a turn slightly too fast and you die. It was because you literally could not drive 40 miles an hour around the outside of Daytona without the car trying to just slide down the track backwards. Like it's because it was literally like an ice sky. So you run into these like I think that kind of I'm a big fan, a big proponent of preservation of games, but I also include preservation of like states of games, like patches and stuff. So I wish that stuff existed a little bit more. I think it would also inform I think it would be also nice to have to like better inform future changes as well. So like I don't know, like for instance, like I really like what they did with going back to Pokemon. I really like what they did with I like the quality of life that they did with Scarlet and Violet, but I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a big fan of the game. But I really like the Legends game.
Right.
That was great. Like that was super fun. I like being able to run around while my Pokemon did stuff, and also getting smacked in the face by a Rapidash. You know?
Getting shocked by a Pikachu in the wild.
Yeah. Like I was like, oh, this is what would happen. Like I get to live the first and second episode of Pokemon with the Spearows, right? Like that was great. I thought that was great. Like I feel like that's a good I think that's also a great experience. Like you can't just have Pokemon fighting each other and not have the danger yourself. So expect danger, right? Like I think that's a great childhood lesson to have. So Legends, if you can't tell, Legends is my favorite one so far. But
I was about to ask, are you keeping tabs on Legends ZA, which is supposed to be I think next year?
I have been very intentionally ever since Metal Gear Solid 5 came out. I very intentionally, unless it's like something I already kind of know about, and I'm just wanting to see what they're doing with it, like something like again Simracing or something. I keep tag on those, but if it's like story-based stuff, I tend to just not pay attention anymore. I'm like, oh, that's coming out. Okay, I'll put down a note and just wait for it to come out, because that way I don't have any I don't set myself for a failure of expectations.
Right.
Like
yeah.
Do like because that happened with like Destiny 1 and 2, right? That happened with Destiny 1 and 2. That happened with Metal Gear Solid 5, where I that's what destroyed me. I went in expecting all of this stuff, and then I got a game that felt empty and just depressing, and I thought it was going to be more than that. And come to find out that was the point, but like I wasn't expecting that, so it I didn't like it at the time, and now it's like one of my favorite Metal Gear games.
I mean that's me with the Division.
Yeah, actually, Division is another one that I was a little disappointed in.
I hope they make a third one, because like I love the story and the like universe setting of it, but like the implementation and like the things they've done in the games, I'm like, I
feel like Ubisoft though, just they probably won't revisit it because of the it was kind of like, wasn't it kind of mixed? Wasn't it met with like a lot of mixed opinions, like when it first came out? The second one, at least.
The second one, yes. The first one was the first one was okay, and then of course they had the big like the like winter like battle royale-esque style.
Yeah.
Which was actually kind of fun. But I mean, and I think this is the problem with Ubisoft. And I was watching a video about it, but I think they just follow trends too much, and then they try to find a way to shoehorn it into a game. Like, you know, I've gotten back into playing some Ghost Recons. Breakpoint, for example, it was like, oh, we're gonna shoehorn live service into Breakpoint.
Yeah. Honestly, I tried Breakpoint, and I felt like it was like gameplay wise, like as far as like movement, shooting, everything else, I felt like it was a solid improvement upon Wildlands. But like the trying to make it more like Division, where it was like more looter shooter-esque and live service-esque, was kind of weird.
They did fix that, by the way.
They did. They did. But like it definitely set it up for failure, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Honestly, if I have to, I'm gonna do a shout out really quickly, because I feel like on behalf of myself and also Foxfire, I have to say this. I feel like Ubisoft tends to like not pay attention to their successes within their failures. So like they'll fail and then make a game that's actually really freaking good, but like no one will pay attention to it because the last game failed. And I'm specifically talking about Assassin's Creed Syndicate here.
Yes.
I felt like Syndicate was one of those games that came out and it had like the best balance across like being an Ubisoft game, but also trying to implement like the RPG stuff they did later, and then not being so overbearing with stuff to do in the game. And no one pays attention to that game.
Yeah, because it's an Ubisoft game.
Well, because it's an Ubisoft game, but also they had the failure of what was the French one?
Unity. I know which one you're talking about, but I can't remember the name.
Yeah, Assassin's Creed Unity. Because they had Unity come out, and that was the one that like had all of the they had all of the bugs where like the faces would disappear and you'd fall through the floor and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, but then Syndicate came out, and people were like, "Oh, it's just you play as two characters, and it's whatever." But then, like when you actually play through it, it's like, no, it's really well polished. The game works really, really well. You don't run into the bugs that you had with Unity. It's also like small enough that you can do everything within like a reasonable amount of time, but there's still enough stuff for you to go collect and do in a Ubisoft game. And it's also funny. Like they had like Alexander Graham Bell, who's just a little eccentric little guy.
He's just a little guy.
That's fun. He's just a little guy. And like I love that. And I like that about Wildlands too, because like Wildlands felt like this big, massive game. But it's like it's in small bite-sized pieces that you can do. It's got, a really fun drop in and explore multiplayer system, which I thought was really like, I'm actually really disappointed more games didn't go that route where you could just join in on your friends.
Yeah, drop in, drop out.
Yeah, like really great drop in, drop out, and you're just existing in that friend's world no matter what. Like I get like trying not to spoil stuff for people, but also like I don't care. If my friend wants to, if I'm playing with a friend, just give me a warning that, hey, you may have spoilers, and just let me drop in.
Right.
Like I might be underleveled. We can go back and do some old missions or something. Let us do that. Like, but Wildlands was great for that, and I loved it. And also, it felt good. Like the vehicles felt good. The shooting felt great. Like it was just fun.
It was just fun. I think the Division had that too. I think
to an extent, but the problem I had with the Division is, so Fox and I tried to play the Division after we played Wildlands, and we ran into the bullet sponges from hell.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I was about to say if you did it after Wildlands, get ready for bullet sponges because it was definitely like
like I was used to like here Fox, have an anti-material rifle. We're gonna go have fun, and then like you get to Wildland or you get to Division, and it's like, okay, I have used 35 grenades, about 15 magazines, and I am completely out of ammo, and we don't have any more equipment that we can get.
Yeah.
How are you doing? And then she's just dead on the side of the map, and it's like, well, we're doing horribly. That's great, and he's still got half his health.
Yeah.
We did this fine the other day, and we're on an easier mode than we were last time. What happened?
No, you know what I honestly wish they would do? Because they did it with Breakout or Breakpoint. They did it with Breakpoint where they kind of went back to this is the ghost experience, the more immersive side. Do that for the Division.
At least give servers for it. Like make it so you can play on a server that has
Yeah,
like that would be really good.
Like have it to where if you want it to be more like Destiny with like the bullet sponges and like the rarity stuff, do that. But then also have like a separate immersive setting where it can be like, okay, they're not bullet sponges, but different weapons are going to have different, the different feels to it, different damage calculations to their bullet types. So you still, and like some characters can still have like the Kevlar vest or whatever to make them kind of feel a little more like they're a little more tanky. But if you get a well-placed shot, it's still going to one shot,
Yeah. Like I think having like kind of like an instancing type of thing where it's like you can kind of just plop in, you can play on that difficulty or something, and then like maybe plop back over to like the other difficulty if you want to play with other friends that are doing that. I think also adding to that, you just made me think of this. I'm like, you don't really have any shooters that are like the extent of like WoW or Final Fantasy 14 like world level rating. Like when you think about it, like because like Final Fantasy, I don't know too much about WoW, but I know that they can have some like really big group raids. Like you can have some really big, like where you have to like 100 something folks to do something. But Final Fantasy also has that in the form of their fates, they can have what's called world bosses. So when those first come out, they're usually really difficult, even for like a couple hundred folks to do. And they just pop up on the overworld. And I'm like, they never really did like a proper shooter MMO when you think about it.
No, they didn't.
Like, I'm kind of surprised. Like, I'm not at the same time, because that sounds like it would be a pain to set up. But also, I'm like, they've never done that.
I think the closest they've ever done is
the Division is probably the closest in my opinion, actually.
The Division's the closest.
But like that was still like PvP for like Mag and like Planet side. Like we've had PvP level stuff like that.
Right. I was about to say Planet side, Foxhole. But nothing like PvE.
Nothing like that's like a PvE that you can join in other people in and stuff, like where it's just these massive battles and stuff. Like I always thought that would be interesting to see. So now that you brought that up, I was like, wait a minute. This is an old idea that I thought about like 10 years ago and still surprised I didn't see.
You would think someone would, but like you said, probably just the scale of it, and
it's the scale of it and the risk of it. And then you also have like the fact that like, I mean, think about how every shooter's launched recently. You have like Halo, everyone hates it. Launches. You have Tom Clancy's, like half of them. Like people always look at the games that we have now and they're like, oh yeah, they're beloved. Everyone like Counter-Strike, and everyone loves what's the Rainbow Six Siege.
Yes.
Like there's all these different games that are like now like considered pastimes, but like people hated them when they first came out.
Yeah, like, Rainbow Six, like especially Siege. Yeah, when it first came out, it was not beloved.
No, and like they still run into issues where every couple of years they do something that everyone hates. So
yeah, because thanks Ubisoft.
Yeah, like and iRacing, like I always love this one. Like the iRacing stuff is like, oh, well, that was. It's the biggest sim. It's a monopoly. And like they've been trying to say that's a monopoly for like the past like basically since it came out. And there's been like 7 other sims that have had a chance to do something about that and just didn't. Like I don't think people know what monopoly is.
Oh yeah, no. Especially like if you look back at like some iRacing things, it's like, why did they decide to do that?
Yeah.
And then like now it's like, oh, this was like the peak of iRacing is like, what are you on about?
Yeah. Like oh gosh. Like R Factor 2 is probably one of the most disappointing to me because like that was one that I was like really like, yeah, this is looking really good, and then it just did nothing. And then you had ACC, you have AMS2. We've had Live for Speed, that's been around forever, that everyone forgets exists, and I still think it's underrated. We've had did we ever find out if Rensport was going to be crypto or not? Like I know they said it wasn't, but like
it's like
it seems
semi,
like it is.
But it's like semi crypto, I think, because it's like, oh yeah, each vehicle has its own virtual VIN.
There was another game that was supposed to do something. It was like one of those like Lost to Time games. Oh gosh, it was what was that called? I can't remember, but it was like one of those games that like they were like, oh yeah, you actually own the car, and when you buy a car, you get like the actual manual and all this other stuff with it.
Yeah, like blockchain.
Well, no, this was like 2000.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, they had that idea back. Yeah, there was like it was. Oh gosh, I wish. You know what? Let me see if I can try and pull up the. There was. It's just such a funny little racing sim.
What I remember was when they decided to make like an MMO Need for Speed.
Oh yeah. Yeah, oh gosh, I remember it was like there was a couple like that actually.
Yeah, I think it was like because it was Need for Speed World, I think. And it was like in the city for Carbon, I think. Mm-hmm. But it was like open world.
There was another one that was like that too, and you like set up in like different little races with other people, and it was like I want to say it was like a Korean or Chinese MMO or something that was crazy like that. There's a couple, but like the Need for Speed one's amazing. Like I can't believe they tried. But I remember the name. It was called Racing Legends.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it's like when Rensport announced, I'm like, so we're just doing Racing Legends again? like, uh, like it's a concept. In concept, it's like that's kind of neat, but like we've seen how the game industries work. We've seen how like mobile games and all these other games that like come out and they're like, yeah, you own your stuff, but like when the services die, you no longer have access to that stuff.
Yeah.
So like even that's even a reality with like stuff like iRacing too. Like eventually, if something happens, we don't have access to it. But like that's also like the risk of it. It's like that's why I'm like I'm just gonna enjoy with what I have for now.
Right.
It's we don't know what's gonna happen down the road. Like maybe they might release dedicated server stuff that we can do with down the road if like something were to happen.
Yeah.
Or maybe they get bought out by a bigger company that ruins it all for us. Who knows?
Or another Carrington level event happens.
Yeah, basically, actually.
set everything back to the Stone Age, because why not?
Yeah, right. We'll just pull what was it, Assassin's Creed 3?
Yes.
Yeah. Desmond goes away.
Yeah, Desmond goes away.
Sorry for the spoilers, everyone, but like it's like 10 years old. Come on.
I think it's closer to like 15 at this point. That's me making.
No, I'm that old.
I hope not, but like it wouldn't surprise me because I've been like, oh, this game is not that old, and it's like that's been out for 20 years, right? And I'm like, oh no.
Oh no! It's like finding out that Star Fox 64 is like almost like 32 as well. It's like 30 as well, almost.
That was me with Pokemon Leaf Green, finding out that it was like either at or just a little over 20 years old at this point. I'm just like, no.
Yep.
No.
Or the anniversary of Half-Life 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was awful. Like, oh no, gaming's old. No wonder we have all these young folks coming in being like, well, that's the old times. I was like, yeah, the new time's kind of silly and lame.
Am I becoming an old boomer?
I don't know, but like also I kind of miss when like we got the cool skins in the game and we didn't have to buy them individually.
True.
Just saying, like something where it's like, okay, you're having to do a lot of in-depth physics stuff. I'm okay with, but like I don't know. But then again, sometimes it is kind of. I've gotten a little bit more respect for artists and stuff, so I don't know. I can't even say.
Yeah.
Like that's a negative. I am gonna say that a $20 skin in Overwatch is dumb though.
No, I can beat you with one better. A $200 skin in League. Because it's related to Faker.
Yeah, see, I keep trying to forget that one exists, and then I'm reminded. I don't even play League. I just know about the skin from League. And I didn't even hear it from League players. I just read about it. I'm like, wait, there's a 200...
It's a $200 Ari skin.
Like, okay, but like, what?
There's a point where I'm like, okay, Riot, I've given you my money, but I'm not giving you that much money.
No, seriously. And like I mean, the fact that you can have like a DLC that's $30 that people will complain about for being too expensive, and then you have a $200 skin in League, like what?
It's like taking my money. It's like, guys, hello.
Like, brain still processing that one again.
Just because it's the greatest League player of all time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any comment on that. Like, I'm literally just like sitting here. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, you have to understand, like, where I come from, I have had to, and I will say this, I openly defend iRacing pricing models and stuff, right?
I agree with you on that one, yeah.
And I like, and like, it gets me in a lot of trouble with people, right? Because like, they talk about like, because we have like ACC, we have all those games, right? And they offer more bang for the buck. But I'm like, but iRacing is like actually going through with like race engineers that probably could do something better with their time being a race engineer, and having them learn how to program so they can program cars, right? That was actually a big thing that I think was a fun revelation through the most recent development blog, is they were talking about how they wanted to make a car creation tool set that would make it easier for race engineers to develop a car rather than programmers, because they were running out of people who knew how to program but also were race engineers, right? Or that did like the physics on like cars for them, right? So because like if you actually have ever looked, I've looked through their LinkedIn. I'm sorry to stalk you, iRacing. I didn't mean to, but I just was curious. They have like people that are from like IMSA. They've had people from Penske. They've had people from various different endurance teams. There's so many people there that are from real world racing experiences that they don't talk about. Like they could just sell you on that stuff. They could be like, yeah, we have this guy from Penske working on the IndyCar tire model. We have this guy from Richard Childress Racing. We have this guy from this specific IMSA team. I don't remember the name of the IMSA team. We have this person from GT4. A lot of the people that are working on iRacing are people that have real racing, if not racing experience, real racing engineering experience. So they've been behind the scenes. They know how the cars work, that sort of stuff. And like, it's kind of funny to like go through that and then see how people react when the cars come out, because they're just like, oh, well, this is nothing like reality. But it's like, but then like they charge what they do for like the service, they charge what they do for the cars and tracks, and they have never really gone up with them. And the amount of work that they've put into it is kind of worth it, in my opinion. And then you get a $200 league skin. That's like, okay, that's a thing. You get a $20 Diva skin. Like, okay, cool. What did it require any actual research and development, or did they just throw it together from someone? Like, because that's the difference, is like you're having to go to these places, you're having to recreate these different things. And to me, recreating something is a lot harder than just making something yourself. And like getting it so that it's like in the right like height, space, distance, all that stuff. And like they still get it wrong at times. Yeah, the bumps in the track, the locations of the like cones and pillars, the locations of houses, and then you have the licensing of those places. So you have to get like licensing for like, a pizza place that's gonna maybe show up on a camera somewhere. Right. Like there's things like that. And like the and they still mess up with it nowadays, like because of how much they've been rushing. Like Watkins Glen actually annoys me because the old version had a lot more detail than the version.
Right.
Just as a small FYI. But like even then, it's like then you compare that to like, okay, here's another $20 Kiriko skin. Here's another $20 Feng Min skin from Dead by Daylight because she doesn't have shoes on. Like, which by the way, Dead by Daylight players, you have a feet fetish problem. Stop it. Like the devs even call you out. They even like in the holiday, like they have this cutscenes, right? Or not the cutscenes, the loading screens, right? And during the holidays, they'll sometimes like special quotes from the developers. They know. They even openly joked like. And then there's that. Oh God, remember? Did you ever see that on Twitter? The Kiriko feet post.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, like what is going? I'm sorry, but like, okay, gamers have been talking about censorship and stuff for the past couple of years. You're telling me there's censorship when Overwatch is openly going into foot fetishes? What? Are you kidding? Okay, what? What's next? Are we gonna? Are we just getting a real? Are we getting a real life Lightning McQueen in like Forza 7 or something? Like what? Forza Horizon 7? Like what are we? Where are we going with this? Like I'm lost on like some of this stuff.
It drives me wild.
Like it's one thing. Like I guess like an example is like it's like one thing if I see like all like the kind of like lewd Final Fantasy 14 modding scene stuff, but it'd be way different if Yoshi P was coming out and putting like feet pics up of like a Stola or something, like to sell the game. Like that's what? That's where we are now. We're just straight up fetishizing in video games. Like it's like okay
then.
It's like the worst part is that I'm like a big fan of like Nier Automata, so it's like I can't even talk because I absolutely have. I don't even have I don't even have like lewd stuff of 2B. I just have normal statues of 2B. So like I have that stuff, but it's like, like I'm okay with things like that. But like you're gonna tell me that we don't like that they don't do that gaming's censoring and they do that? Like what? So I don't know. It's weird to me.
It's
like
it's
like watching. It's like that domino meme, like the one that's like the MCR 911 one.
Yeah,
It's like that one. But it's like Wendy's starts being sassy on Twitter. Overwatch posts feet pics of Kiriko skin, of like a $20 Kiriko skin. Like that's how it feels. Is like that we went from Wendy's just being slightly sassy on the internet to now Kiriko feet pics from an official source. And I'm like, I don't think we have a censorship problem actually.
I don't think so. I think it's just I don't even know at this point.
I think people spent too much time on Nexus mods and Rule 34 sites.
True.
My personal favorite is when like people get really confused by character models. Like they're like, oh well, why does 2B look so small? And it's like, have you played the original Nier?
Yeah.
She is small. She is a 5'2" skinny little bean. That's it. Like, if you expect her to be a thick 2B, no.
No, absolutely not.
That is a mod. You experienced something that did not happen.
Speaking of mods, because you said it like at the start, like you were making the body pillow mod for Euro Truck Sim 2 and American Truck Sim. How have you how's that been? How's like learning to create a mod been for you?
I mean, it's not my first time learning that. It is my first time with ETS and ATS. But I actually, I weirdly, okay, we're going back again. I started back with NASCAR Racing 2003 season. I made a really awful, it's very hard to find. There's a very awful Sears Point long that I made.
Really?
It was so bad that I was like 13 at the time, and I finished it up. I was kind of like, yeah, this is not great, but I'm proud of it. I'll make some updates to it. I'll change it. It'll get better. I'll improve over time. But I just wanted people to be able to access it because we didn't have a Sears Point long at the time. No one made one for some reason. It was weird. Like, we hadn't had one for a couple of years. So I was like, okay, I'll make one. I sent it to the website owner, and he actually got obscenely upset with some very strong expletives and got really, really mad that I even would send him that. And I proceeded to then cry and informed him, like, listen, I'm like 13. This is my first attempt at anything like this. I am so sorry. Feel free to just not put it up. It's okay. And he's like, well, shit. So he ends up, he's like, listen, I get it. Just try and make some improvements. Just realize that people are going to be critical of your work. I don't want to like stop you from modding or doing this stuff in the future. Like, if this is really your first attempt at doing anything like this, honestly, it's really not that bad. It's actually really good. He sent me like a really kind-hearted message. And he's like, I'm going to put it up because it's literally the only one we got and it's at least something. And I'm like, okay. So he did. And then I proceeded to get grounded from the computer and lost all of my data because my dad wiped my computer and I lost all of it. So I wasn't able to work on it again. But then I got into like other stuff. Like I got into a little bit of Halo modding, didn't really do too much with it. And I'm trying to think of what else was there. I think honestly, for about 5 or 6 years after that. No, I just didn't touch modding again until honestly probably trying to do the VTuber stuff. It's technically modding in a way where I had to do like my own custom programming and stuff. But with the ETS and ATS, I picked it up in about a night. I like legit like all of the stuff that you guys have been doing, like I did, like everything that's on that mod right there has been done in about under a week of like, and when I say that, maybe a day's worth of hours on it. And the first initial release that I did was for a collab with me and Frankie, and I got it out in under 12 hours.
That's amazing.
I was like, it was also my second 3D mesh I've ever made myself. The first is these little speakers on my ears. The that can be seen when I'm streaming and stuff that are connected to my headphones. So the pillow was actually my second ever mesh I've made on my own from scratch, and UV wrapped and everything. And it was a bit rough because none of the tutorials are up to date. And they also don't handle anything involving setting up custom like they like 3 of the tutorials that I followed were like, yeah, just export the mod, and then you have to go into the mod folder, and then you have to like copy these or cut these files into the interior folder every time you export them. And then I found out that you can just click a checkbox and say export to that folder, and it just does that every time, and you don't have to do that. And that was it when I was done with the mod. So I spent several hours just repeatedly doing these same meaningless menial tasks, and found out, oh, if I would have just looked myself and clicked this checkbox, because I checked it just to see what would happen, and then I set the folder because I was like, okay, I wonder if this will let me do what I. And then I click export, and it does exactly what I wanted. I'm like, these tutorials are the worst. They're so bad. I think the worst part is the definition files. A lot of folks don't. Sometimes probably just think that you just set a game object in the game and you just leave it there, and the game engine does it for you. No, I had to make, I think currently with 5 different types of, so it's 5 different characters with 3 of them having 2. So it comes out to a total of 8 total pillows that you are able to have, because 2 of them require blankets and 3 of them you can have either full or with a blanket. And that was done to hide the fact that the art wasn't full body. There's no legs. So I was like, gonna just make it so that it looks nice. Just to make it so that it would be in all of the trucks in I think both in Euro Truck Simulator and American Truck Simulator, I had to make 600 text files.
Wow.
Yeah, so I have to go through, and there's not really like a good way that I found like a method that makes it easy for me, which is I have like these default files I copy into each of the folders, and then I just do a replace all for each truck. It's still like 40 different things I have to do, but it's still much easier than having to make each file individually like I was earlier, where it was like copy pasting, pressing save, and doing that. But there's in total 600 different files that I have to go through and make sure I didn't put I didn't put the wrong truck in there. I didn't put the wrong type of object in there. I didn't put the wrong price. I didn't put the wrong logo, etc. And I have to do that essentially for each truck for each pillow type. So if I want something that's like I said, right now it's about 600 to 700-ish files in there. But that's across, having just a bed pillow, having a corner pillow for some trucks that allow for it, that it doesn't look completely wrong for, and I had to disable it for some of them, and then having a seat pillow. So that's just across those 3 different places that you can sit it. And then on top of that, when you're doing like the UK stuff, you also have to flip the pillow so that when you're sitting on the other side, it looks right. And that doesn't just happen automatically. You have to do that manually. Plus, I have to make sure that the texture stays the same, so it looks like it's the pillow that you have in both trucks. It's not flipping the pillow because you're not getting a different pillow. You're just flipping it.
Right.
So I had to go through that and make a custom mesh for each of that. So there's about, I think right now for the ETS, I have about 6 or no, it is 8 different meshes that each then have 5 different textures, but then also have a blanket variant. So yeah, as you can see, that gets kind of big. And that's just for one model to fit in a truck.
Right.
Like that's not like I'm doing something advanced. I'm not making it animated. I'm not doing like these customization options that you can do. I'm not. It's not like something where it's like, oh, I have to fit it into like the hands of like 30 different styles of character, right? Like, so like if anything, it was fun. It wasn't too difficult for me to do, but also like it does give me a new respect for like game devs, especially those that are working with tools that maybe don't work with them.
Right.
It gave me a lot of respect for the Helldivers 2 devs.
Oh yes, yeah.
Like if they were having to fix even like a tenth of the issues I had to fix while I was doing this one simple body pillow mod, That is an insane amount of work. They deserve to be paid more.
Yes.
Also, it's a fun mod. We're also getting a new character.
I know. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I've kind of already announced it, but essentially I've got a small little partnership with, not a partnership, but I get approval for every pillow. I make sure that everything gets approved by the person that I'm including. Mm-hmm. So if people want to see like their favorite VTubers, like be it someone else that's in the sim racing space or something like Iron Mouse, I need approval from them. I'm not just adding them. So. But Tombstone's going to be the next one. He's going to be our first furry version. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so we're going to have Tombstone here, and then I'm going to be trying to add some more characters, or more of the VTubers in the space, as I can both find time and get art that's usable.
Right.
I have to not only have approval from them, but I also have to know that they have the copyright on being able to use it on external things, even if I'm not charging for the mod. It's one of those things where I still respect those rules with it. So. Oh
yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. All right. I wish I could keep going, but from the sounds of things going on in my room, I may be busy here in a bit.
Did you have any last questions for me? I guess.
No, but definitely would love to have you back on again for sure.
Okay. Yeah, we'll find some time in the future. It was definitely.
I'm just like, as long as you had a good time, I'm glad, because
I don't think I've thought that much about Pokemon in a while, so I'm glad I just got to talk about that.
we went off on a tangent. Racing VTuber podcast. We're talking about Pokemon. But where can everyone find you at? What socials and what like channels can everyone find you at?
Yeah, I mostly just stream on Twitch TV / Lithium Fox. You can also find me under the same name on Bluesky, and pretty much every other social too. I've tried to make sure I have the name mostly everywhere. If you can't find me on something, it might be Lithium Fox TTV. I know that's how it is on Instagram for me. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, yeah, I mostly just stream right now. I've been trying to work on YouTube videos, but for the time being, I'm kind of more stuck trying to update my avatar platform that I just keep putting off for a year and a half now.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lith. And stay tuned for more Racing VTuber Rundown next time. This is your one-stop pit stop for everything Racing VTuber related.